we have seen how to deploy that flow created in the Anypoint flow builder, and to the runtime, and how to monitor logs and all we have seen. Also, we have created this RAML file, which is called the design of the API, right? This American Flights API. So yesterday we have learned on how to code all this. So you should definitely watch that video without miss, 100%, because this is crucial. How to the web services we consume, right? On our previous part 2 session, like this, how do we write this, right? So that's what we have discussed yesterday. How to define this JSON object, what are the types and all. Varun was there, so he went through all this session yesterday. So I'll send the recording of yesterday meeting maybe by end of today, so that you can go through. But this is all the design, and then we also published it over to the exchange, and see the documentation here. The American Flights API is a system API for operations on American table in the training database supported operations. It has all these functions: get all flights, get a flight with specific ID, add a flight, delete a flight. These are just the same services we have consumed in the part 2, the second class of our training. So that we have literally developed, right? These are all the methods this API contains. So we have completed till the designing APIs, all these parts. So I want you to make sure you get a check mark here at the quiz for the 3 modules. It's a quiz basically. If you answer all the questions, only if you get 100%, you will be able to pass that quiz. Once you pass that, now let's go ahead and start the building APIs phase. Designing APIs is complete. So after I send the video, you have to go through that. And the dependency for the designing APIs, for the building APIs on designing APIs is partially there. Since you missed the session yesterday, it's okay. You can still catch up the building APIs. This is very crucial. This is what you all will be doing in the customer side. They'll give you the requirements, and you will have to develop the API. So are you excited to learn on how to develop APIs using MuleSoft?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So in this session, you will see how to develop the APIs. Okay. Yeah, yesterday the inside phase, right? Design, stimulate, feedback, and validate. We have seen all that. Now we'll be looking at the outside next phase after the build API specification. Now we are working on the build phase, build and test. So build, as you see in the screenshot here, we'll be building using our Anypoint Studio. What is Anypoint Studio? Can anyone tell?
It's a IDE platform for building APIs.
Perfect. So we'll be using Anypoint Studio, that is this one, to build an API. Okay. And here, as you see on the left side, it's called the package explorer. On the center, it's called the canvas. On the left side, you see the Mule palette, and down you'll see the console. So all of you open your Anypoint Studio. If you open, you will see just empty in the package explorer. Do you have a package explorer? Check. If you don't have, let me know. So this session, you have to pay full attention. You have to keep your mobile phones away. And if you are in middle of somewhere, or if you are outside and or not in a private place, please come to some private space and keep your mobiles aside and fully focus on this session. This is very important. This is what you will be doing in your work, this basics. So if you miss this session, if you don't pay if you miss single point in this session, you will be in very confusion after all, from next all classes, because this is the base for all the training sessions from here. So make sure you understand every point. If you face any trouble, if you're not following, if you're not doing along with me, immediately ask me question. Is that clear? Hello?
Yes, Joe. Yes,
Can,
yes.
can
So
you give me a minute?
okay, on the left side, do you see the package explorer, all of you?
Yes, yes. Can see.
Yeah, package explorer is a place where you see your apps and files. Okay, when you, right now it's empty for you guys, but once we create, this is where you see all the files of your project. And on the center, you will see the canvas where we'll be playing and putting the code, developing, right? So all the components as you are seeing on my screen, I have some flows and connectors, right? Where did I get this from? I dropped it from the palette. Palette is like a search box here. So it's like a place where you find all the items. You just drag and drop to your canvas, and then that's how you code all these components, flows. You get it from the canvas. Okay, and at the bottom you'll see this console and Mule properties. Do you see one this package explorer, canvas, Mule palette, and console on your Anypoint Studio? If anything is missing, let me know. I'll show you how to open that. I mean, yeah, these are the, this is some definitely, I'm repeating every session. Instructions has to
Mhm.
be followed. There is no second option. You have to see this package explorer, canvas, and palette and console. This is very easy step I'm saying. You just have to open the studio. If you face troubles, let me know. Because you won't,
Yeah,
you won't get it after that.
yeah, okay.
Make sure the foundations are well established so that all the sessions will be easy. Once you have that open, you'll see this flow. This is the basic flow. If you write some code, it will be like this. And this is this the first, there is a dotted line after this connected, right? This means this is the beginning of the flow, which means this is the trigger. As we discussed yesterday, this is the trigger where the flow starts. There should be a trigger. It can be a listener based, it can be a batch processing or scheduler, or a queue, or any listeners. There are many listeners. You can consider database queue listeners, and Salesforce listener, a file listener. All these are different listeners that will be the trigger of the flow. There should be some trigger to start the flow, so that will be here, and it will be separated by this dotted line. This is called the source of this event. And once the event source is there, from the event source, everything that's there after this dotted line is called the processors, event processors. So event processors are something where you process the event, whatever it happening. uh, all those, they manipulate, they log, they perform the things mentioned on the request that comes to the listener. That's why we call it as the event processors. And something happened in this event, like a error occurred, or a, um, a exception happened, then there is exception handling at the bottom. If you see, there is one exception error handling place. So here you can define the error handling. So in the error handling again, it's a little concept. You have two types of error handling in Mule 4. Mule 3 has different error handling, but since the latest version is Mule 4, we'll be discussing on Mule 4 error handling. Mule 4 has two ways of handle the errors. One is on error propagate, and the other one is on error continue. So if you see on my palette here, when I type error, right, you see two error, two way on error, right? On error continue, which means when error comes, it will come to this error handling. If I put this here, it will come here, and then it will still continue. If you want to log that error, you log it. Or if you want to send that error as an alert, you can do that here and still continue with the flow. It is called on error continue. And there is one more thing called on error propagate. Propagate means it will terminate the flow of when it comes in here. Once the, if let's assume this request is not performing well, then the error comes. Then if I put, the error will go immediately into this on error propagate and then perform the task that has been mentioned in that on error propagate, and then it will terminate the flow. This is a difference between the on error propagate and on error terminate, which have to be mentioned inside this error handling flows. Okay, is that clear?
Yes.
Yeah. And then now let's go to the walkthrough. Saiti Kanil, did you get your Anypoint Studio up and running or not? So the first step here in the walkthrough, open the Anypoint Studio, and then in the package explorer, create new Mule project. So go ahead and click this create new Mule project. And the name of the project will be training for American web service, WS. So I'll provide this in the chat here, the name of the application. So create a new Mule project based on this name. So I'll be creating with you. So watch, you can just do this. You can go here and click new and select Mule project. And then in the project name, enter training for American web service. Here there is runtime already for 4.4.0. This is my latest. If you have multiple versions, you select the latest one. I'm sure you have just one. So go with the latest one and then click finish. Okay, once you have this up and running, once you create this project, then we can go back here and then create HTTP connector endpoint to receive the request. So how do I create HTTP request? In the yesterday flow designer, right? We have dragged and dropped the HTTP in the flow designer, right? In the same way, today also we will drop this from the palette here. So it starts from a listener actually. So we are listening for a message. So if I drag and drop that component, the entire flow is automatically created if you see. If not, you will have to do it manually, like you have to go here, type flow and drop this flow here and then put the listener. um, it's the same thing. If you do like this, it's the same thing. Or if you just drag and drop the listener, it will create the flow name for you. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then once you have the listener, you have to create the configurations. So we have the listener. What is his listening to? We have to let that know. Let the listener know. So for that, I am clicking on this listener button. On the bottom, you will see the listener configuration here. Are you seeing this configuration?
Yes.
Okay. Here, click on the plus button, green
Okay.
color, and the host name will be 0.0.0.0 and port is 8081, which is already there by default, right?
Yeah.
So now just click OK. So it's all good. Now the path. The
So
path,
need not to change anything, right? Just
correct.
yeah.
If they are automatically populated, you are good. You are using that connections.
Okay.
So just click OK and then come back. At the bottom, you'll see path variable. So here, let's put flights.
Okay.
And then once you put flights and come back to canvas and click anywhere in the white space, you will see that the errors are gone on top of this listener. Earlier it was errors and warnings, right? Now it's gone. It looks good, plain and decent, right?
Yeah.
Now just save it. Control S or Command S. Once you save it, it's saved.
Okay.
You can save like that, or you can just click on this button on the top. If it is not saved, it will show you highlight like save. Okay, You can click that, or you can go to file and save. These are all different ways of saving the file. These are basics. And then now let's go and create global element properties. So all these properties, whatever you mention, it will be available. So this is a message flow. So there are different three views of the same code. So right now you are seeing the graphical representation of the flow. This is the flow and components. But if you want to see the configurations, there is one tab here called global elements. So if you click global elements, this you can see this listener configuration. And if you want to edit, you can edit it here, and you will see how many configurations are defined. Later we will have one more call, some database call, anything. All those configurations especially will be listed here, global elements, in the global elements. And there is one more tab called configuration XML. So everything whatever we are writing is XML based in the MuleSoft. So this XML is being auto generated. So if you see, there is XML tag here, right, root tag, and then we have this mule tags, and then we have the listener configuration, the flow name. So this is all the code which is automatically generated by MuleSoft based on our drag and drop configuration from the palette, right? Is that clear? We have three kinds
Yes.
of views for this. Okay. So sometimes when UI is not, it's stuck, or you are not clear, or sometimes you want to comment multiple things. So you will be always navigating in between the message flow, global elements, and configuration files. And these are all three tied up to modify one single file here. That is the Mule training for Americans web service.xml, this file. These are the three ways to edit this file basically.
Okay.
Okay, now scroll down in the palette and look at the transform session and click create payload. Okay, set payload. So we'll go back to our palette, and if you type something, clear that here, click on create clear. In the core, you'll see transform message. So drag, you can just select that, come to your flow and click it again. You will get the transform message here. But right now we are looking for set payload. At the bottom, you will see set payload under the transformers tab. So select set payload, drag and drop, or click here and click here. It will put the select payload component here. In the select payload, in the so again, if you click this component, you will see again its configuration below here, just like the listener configuration. So everything in MuleSoft here, in the canvas, you select something, the properties will be showed here, in particular to that whatever you select. If I click flow has its
Hello.
own properties.
Hello.
Yeah.
Configuring means we are keeping information.
Yes, the information
Okay.
regarding the properties, if you want to see the properties regarding this, any of these things in the canvas, whatever is in the canvas, if you want to see the properties, it's on here at the bottom
Okay.
beside the console.
Got it.
So right now I put a set payload, and then here in the value, we have to mention payload. It's already there, but we'll be changing it to flight info. So I'll paste that in the chat again. So in the value, remove this and select and put flight info. And it's still showing me error, right, on the top. So you uncheck this fx button. Fx button means function, f of x it's called. So you uncheck that button, then the error should go. It should be good. And then save again. Now let's deploy this locally. So once you save this project and right click here, or you can right click on the project, or you can go on the top and select this green button. So right now, these are all different ways to run this project. Yesterday in the Anypoint Flow Builder, we have seen on how to run the project. There is a test button on the top left, but here, since we are using Anypoint Studio, we'll be just right clicking here and then select run project. So once you select the run project, it will run. These are all the logs generated. This is deploying on my local right now. So once it says deployed, right? Now, how do I test this application? I go to the ARC, Advanced REST Client, and then paste I put my local host as the host name, or 0.0.0.0 and colon 8081 slash flights. So what should be the response now? Anyone?
The value which we gave flights on the payload, flight info. Yeah.
Correct. Perfect. So let's test that. We got the response flight info. Let me know if you all get this response. Then we can continue.
What was the link to local host?
So in the listener configuration, right, we have put 0.0.0. So instead of that, you can put localhost colon means it separates from the domain name, host name, and the port number. Port number is 8081 slash, and then we have put the base path as slash flights. So the URL will be http colon slash slash localhost colon 8081 slash flights.
Yeah, I got the output 200. Okay, and the flights info.
Perfect. We'll continue to the second walkthrough. I really want you all to be on the same pace, but because these are little crucial, you might get errors here, all these steps. Now next, let's try selecting and adding database connector. So we are really connecting to a database here, and for that, so there is one database record in the zip file we downloaded in the students manual in the notes snippets. So if you see down here, we have the database configuration, right? Line 62, and it says MySQL database. So here is the configuration that we'll be connecting for. Okay, so go back to your Anypoint Studio, and then let's delete this, and then type database, and you can see all this. Now we'll just select and put it here. And select the host name, port number. So how do I edit the configuration properties for this database configuration? So you click on this database, down again you will see that element SQL is required, right? So the configuration is missing. So click on this plus button here, and then in the connection on the top, select MySQL connection. Here you can paste the host name. Port number is what? 3306. And user is Mule, and password is also Mule, and then database is training. And then, but after we put all this configuration, it's still showing a red mark here, right? So we have the configuration, but the configuration is there, but this is not a web service call. This is a database call. That means a connection pool has to be established. Like there has to be something running on behind, which will be streaming the data from the database to our application, Mule application. For that, we have to download a driver. The driver is the guy who drives data between the database and our MuleSoft. To install the driver, you have to click this configure and then use Maven dependency. And once you click on this, it will auto populate some of the dependencies here, the latest version. And then you have to click on use Maven dependency and enter SQL in the search box. MySQL 8.0.16. They want let's install the latest one. So just click on finish. Now you see the green mark, and now I've put the configuration. Now I can test the connection. There is a test connection button at the bottom of this configuration. Click that and connection is successful. That means the driver from our application to that database, whichever configuration we mentioned here, is successful. It just went and checked that the database connection is successful, the driver whichever we installed.
I missed the JDBC driver part, Joe. What to search in the search box for the Maven Central? I mean, what?
Here click on add dependency, Maven dependency.
In the search?
No, don't go to the search. In the Maven dependency itself, you will already see the MySQL configuration.
Okay, one
An
moment.
XML, right? Like this.
Yeah, okay.
Just click on finish.
Need not to do anything, just finish.
Yeah. And you will see a green check mark in 2 seconds.
Problems downloading dependencies, see details for more information. It is saying like that.
Okay, can you share your screen?
Yeah, one moment. Are you able to see?
Yeah.
One moment.
Yeah. So on the top, before doing, there select MySQL. On the top, connection, in the connection.
In the connection, I should type my SQL?
No. On the top, where you see name, below that, select MySQL connection. Yes.
Okay.
And then,
Let me add all those.
Yeah, you can put that later. Go back and click on configure.
Okay, you're asking me to configure or?
Yeah, configure. Click on configure.
Okay.
And then add Maven dependency. And then finish. Now the driver has been installed.
Okay.
Now you can put in the host port and all. It will come. And so once you have that, now you can go back to your and test the connection. Make sure you test the connection, Varun, and if it comes test connection successful, then you can close it.
Okay, one moment.
I don't know why he's doing all these steps. We don't have to do that. We can just type in select star from American here, as you see in the 49th step. Go back to your Anypoint Studio and in the SQL query paste that. Now there are no errors. Save this, and then once you save, since it's already deployed, it will redeploy the application. It's called hot deployment. How to verify if it's redeploying, right? You will see here status. See, it's saying starting the application, it's redeploying the changes. So it says it started successful, right? At the bottom here, successfully started. So now let's go back to our any that arc and then trigger attempted and sent invalid data through HTTP response, and we got the same error message. So that's okay. This is the expected response. So did you get this error message, Varun? Attempt to send invalid data through HTTP response.
One moment, I'm running it one.
Okay. Sahite, Kanil, any update from your side?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's still downloading.
okay. Yeah, let it download. Don't sleep, okay? You have to do it.
Yeah, actually, yeah, the first and the second both webinars we have gone through yesterday night. As soon as you share the third and the fourth recording, we will make sure that these four recordings we will go through and we will get ready for the next class with everything getting done.
Okay. Tomorrow is on a holiday for most of us. So I'm thinking to have a
Yeah.
session tomorrow as well. Are you guys okay with it?
Yeah, yeah, it's okay. By tonight, me and Sahiti will complete these four sessions as we are free for tonight. And by the tomorrow class, everything will be done. Like we will learn everything and we will attend the class for
Wa-
sure.
Varun, are you available tomorrow?
Yes, yo, yes, I am available tomorrow.
Okay. So Dikshit and Vijay, can we have session tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
If everyone is okay, then yeah.
What time you are thinking? Like late evening or same time?
Yeah, same time.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
When I run it, it says deployed in the logs, but I
The
don't see any error message.
deployed means that is good, man.
Deployed. And did you test it from this this advanced REST client?
One moment, I'm testing.
It's the same call. You don't have to change anything.
Okay. Yeah, java.lang. Attempted to send invalid data through HTTP response.
Okay, perfect.
Got it, got it. I know what is the reason. So are you converting to
Oh, okay, okay. Now I think we are going there. So here comes the transform message part. We are unable to see that message because what is the error message? If you read again, it says unable to convert, right? See, runtime exception, attempt to send invalid data through HTTP response. So we are getting response, but it's what? Invalid data. So this is not identifying what is coming in. So we are getting a runtime exception. So it's trying to run something and run and put the response in our UI in the advanced REST client, but it doesn't know what to do with that. It's a different format. As we know, all the data through this internet is all binary and encoded, right? We don't get actual words and actual data passing over, right, anywhere. So that's the reason it's unable to uh, output. So here we are using a transform message. uh, we use this data view visual mapper to change the response to different JSON structure. Okay, so if you see this screenshot, again, this also has few sections, right? On the left side you see some kind of data in a JSON format. On the center you see some mappings, and on the right side you see some data types which we want. So we are mapping that data to this data, and then the code here is a JSON code is generated, right? So this is what we'll be doing now. We are transforming the message which is coming in from database into a readable format, which is JSON. That is our target now. In the walkthrough now we'll do that. Return to Anypoint Studio, and then select the Mule transform message, transform component, and then put it here in front of the select database. So I'll go here to select the transform message, put it after the select component. Now you see it automatically gave me what are fields are coming from this database, right? This is called data sense. This MuleSoft and data view have this intelligence. It's called data sense. It's built-in intelligence in the Anypoint Studio and in the MuleSoft. This is so powerful that instead of making a call and getting the structure or getting the metadata or the whatever you call the structure of the database, it's automatically trying to grab the metadata. This is called data about the data. So right now we don't have the dynamic values, but we know what data it has. It has the ID, it has the code, airline's name. These are all the fields. What are these column names in the database? These column names will have multiple rows of data. Have you guys have idea on the database how the select statements will be, how the update statements, how the data will be present in database?
Yeah.
If you have idea, then you can understand this. These are all the column names. It automatically populated. This is called metadata. And the technology behind this is data sense, which is used by this data transform message. This is very powerful and very unique and special to MuleSoft. This is the biggest tool where the MuleSoft is famous for the mapping, which made the entire integrations very easy because of this tool. So here we found these are all coming in fields from the database without making any successful call. It's still able to populate. Now let's define a metadata and try to map what all fields we want. We don't want everything coming out from the database. We are just interested in few fields. So let's define a metadata now, and then before going metadata, we can just output a JSON format. We just want to test. So here in the application/Java, select JSON, and here just put payload, and you will see there is a straight line defined. All the data we are grabbing and converting it into the JSON format, and then save it. Once you save it, it will be automatically redeployed. So at the bottom here, you will see the updates. You can also make your screen adjustments so that you can see console on like broader view of the console. You can just drag and drop the tabs so that you can adjust. So here it says successfully started, right? So I'm going back to my advanced REST client and then making a call. Boom. Now I see the response from the database. Do you see it?
One moment, I'm running.
Saitik, Anil, any doubts here so far?
Yeah, we are just following the session. Everything is okay.
But you guys understood, right? What is the
Yeah, it's in like JSON format, database configurations, host.
yeah. So we are trying
I'm
to
following
we are trying to get
transforming
the
data.
data from the that is understood, but the entire concept, right? You are trying to get the data from the database and returning as a JSON.
Yeah, it's data is coming in JSON format. Yeah, I'm getting it.
So yeah, the data resides in database and you are querying that. That's all. Because for example, right, for if you have a bank account, you want to
Hmm.
look at your account balance, right? So that account
Yeah.
balance doesn't reside in the web browser. You have to get it from there. So
Hmm.
when you click that to show my balance, it will hit an endpoint. That is, it will hit a web service that will go and query your account balance and return to the UI. And then UI will present it in
Show
a
the
nice
balance.
graphical user interface.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just you have to correlate.
We just have to change the thing. It says fail when I try to deploy.
Have you put the JSON here or
And the payload, yeah.
and the payload and no error message in the flow, right?
One moment.
It shows a error symbol on the top of any
On the
component.
it shows on the transform.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the transform message, all you have to do is just change it to JSON and put a payload and remove the brackets if you have in front.
Okay. One moment.
And if you hover, mouse over on the payload, you will see this result type.
Yeah, I can see the data now. It connected. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now we'll come back to this database connector, and then so add and mention this American flights JSON, create type.
So first, select the database section and add metadata.
Yes, add metadata
From
and
the
drop down,
Dropbox.
select output payload,
Okay.
and then click on that edit button beside the unknown,
Okay.
and then select metadata windows open, and then in the window click on that green add button. So here we are adding a metadata type. So when you click add, it asks for a name. In the name, put in American flights underscore JSON. Okay, and
Yeah.
then here in the on the type again it doesn't, we are defining the type, what type of data we are defining. So we are defining a JSON here. So click on JSON, and in the drop down again you can select schema or example. So if you remember yesterday in the flow designer, we have done these steps. We have defined the metadata like JSON or whatever it is, and then we have selected the example, and then here we have to point out to the data type file. So we have this file in our student snippets, student resources. So just go there and select the American flights example.json in the resource folder. So I go back and downloads and student file resources examples, American flights example.json. I'm opening that, and that will populate the structure, and click select. We have to do that for the flow metadata, not the database metadata. In the flow metadata, output payload, and then edit, select that. That's it. Now you will be seeing this auto populated.
Can you say that again, Joe? Like, what should I do?
Go to the flow and click the flow also will have properties, right? In the flow properties, go to metadata, and just like we have done output payload, add metadata output payload, and then point out to the same one which you already created. So it will come here anyways. So you can just click that. Yeah, once you have it, you can come back and see it will be there on the right side.
Same output payload I should select
Yes, same output payload.
when I add it.
I just want to undo the whatever I've done here. So go here to the metadata and click on this X mark and remove that.
In the select database one.
Database metadata, wherever we created earlier, there will be X mark at the end, add metadata. So we don't want to add there. So now you see in the transform message, if you double click, it will expand. This is called the data view data view. So in this data view, you will see the incoming fields from the database on the left side and the transforming on the right side, and the how you map the data fields on the center. So as per the requirements, we want to map ID to ID. So to map ID to ID, I'll just select this ID and then drop it over this ID.
Okay. I'm unable to see that, Joe. Yeah, it's not mapping. I mean, when I double click transform message, nothing shows to me.
At the bottom.
No, nothing. I mean, the page which you got, I mean, the output section, I'm not getting it.
Here, okay. So I'll say again, in the flow properties, go to metadata. In the metadata, here you have to add metadata and then select output payload. In the output payload, you have to edit this button and then select the American flights JSON.
Yeah,
Once
I
you
done
have
it, but I'm not getting
then
it.
save it, save that changes. Save and come back to the data transform message, you will see.
No, still I can't see it. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, please.
Can you see?
Yeah.
Yeah, I selected flow, metadata, I output payload, I set the path, and then when
Go
I
to the
come,
edit button once.
oh,
In the flow metadata, edit button. Yeah. Select that. Oh, and then okay, now select and save. Now
yeah,
go transform.
mhm.
Okay. Oh, here in the right side, you'll see there is a on the whole right side, entirely right bottom. You see preview, right? Yeah,
Okay.
select that first window which says, yeah,
Okay.
that one. Perfect. There you go.
Okay.
So these are all different views. You can select. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me explain that. So if you guys don't see that, you the data view, because sometimes data view is really complex, these are only few fields now, but eventually as you keep working, you might get thousands and hundreds of fields. So for that ease of use, they have provided different views. Like you can directly watch here and then code, you can manually write, or you can straight away concentrate on this. And you can also work on the mappings like this. See the mappings. This is what different windows we can see for the data view. Right now we'll be using this one. Okay, and as per our requirement, we want ID to ID, price to price, total seats to plane to total seats. So total seats we are mapping to total seats inside the plane. So use a drag and drop and it will point.
Okay. One.
To airport to destination. To airport to destination. And takeoff date to departure date. So if you pay attention here, takeoff date to departure date, whenever I drag and drop, you see the code is automatically generated on the right side.
Yeah.
Right, 12 lines of code is there. Now what I'm trying to, from airport to origin. So from airport to origin. Now origin equals to payload dot from airport is been auto populated, and also we are setting some default values. If it comes as null, then we are setting a default value. These are all the best practices, coding best practices auto generated by data view
Okay.
by MuleSoft. So we have here code 1 and code 2 from coming from database. We want that to be concatenated. That means add this both code 1 and code 2 to one code. So this code one I'll drag and drop here, and then also add this code 2 to the same code. Now you see here it's concatenating for the code whatever we want here in the response. These are all the data types which we defined, right? In the flow reference, sorry, flow. In the flow metadata, we defined certain data, right? Here, ID, code, price. This is what we want, these kind of response from this entire API. So these fields are generated here. So this is our target, and this is our source coming from the database. So these are all the field names coming from database. We are trying
What if, sorry for interrupting, what if the source has some data? If ID in the place of number, it has actual data, where it will be?
that will be in the database.
Okay, so we just get the transform part. Not okay, so we are accessing database. It's the left side source shows the what the source has, and the target we are selecting.
Yeah. So basically data will be always dynamic. We will never touch data. We don't manipulate, we don't touch, we don't do anything to data. But we manipulate the data only by accessing their metadata. Metadata means, the term metadata means data about the data. Means whatever the ID number 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 and the prices like $1,010, these are all the data. But what is this ID, price, code? These are all the metadata, then column names, right? Technically.
Yeah.
So if we map the column names, the data will automatically get mapped. So the column names from the database here ID, we are mapping it to our JSON object here ID. So here we are getting some response, right? So we are tagging the column name to field name basically. So here ID we want here, which is payload.id. Payload means which is coming inside after a database call or after a website, whatever the data is processing in between these components is called payload.
Okay.
Data can transport in this flow through payload and variables and attributes. These are three different ways that payload can transform. Sorry, the data can transform. So whatever the response we got, it's a big chunk of data. So it will definitely be inside the payload. So we are saying payload.id. And in the code, we are saying payload.code1 plus payload.code2. We want to concatenate. And in the price, we are saying for price, we are saying we want payload.price. Make sense? Any questions?
No, yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, this is very easy, right? So far till now, I haven't written single line of code. It's all drag and drop. If you see, only the configurations I have copied it from the snippet file. So far, I have not written any code, any line of code. You don't have to know any logic, any data, any data language also, right? So it's all drag and drop. So we mapped it, and then right click origin in the output session and apply transform message, then select browse functions. So it's asking us to select origin, apply transformation, and then browse function. This is a new update here. So in the browse function, these are all the functions, different functions that you can, in the Java we have, right, different methods: replace, reverse, substring, last, move, name of. These are all different functions available in MuleSoft as well. See, there are n number of functions that you can apply. So for origins, we would like to apply a function here basically. What function we would like to apply? So we want trim. So in the origins, sometimes there is a space. So we select this trim. This trim will, so here you can see the this acts as a documentation as well. If the client asks you to implement some transformation, you can come here to that field and then apply function and browse here and read the documentation. So what trim does? Trim here, see in the source you have this trim, and then in the quotes you have some space. So this is the source. The source, if you see, the source is similar to what we have in the data view here, right? It looks like data view 2.0, and then output applications are JSON, and then they have implemented the field name as trim, so you don't have anything. It can be your name as well, it's just a field name, and there is this function called trim function, and inside this we are mentioning this text message to trim. So it trimmed the spaces before and after this message, which are not useful anywhere, but they take space and consume characters when go through the internet, right? So we are trimming that message. So just click on insert. So it says payload dot airport and default. So let's click on finish. So if you see, the trim function is being applied here to this origins without writing the code again. It's simple.
From where we got the function option, Joe? Like from
So whatever the field you would like to do manipulations or add function, click on that, apply transformation. In the apply transformation, you'll always be you'll be already seeing some of the functions, but you are not interested in these. You would like to browse something else, then click on browse, and then you'll get all the functions. Now you don't know what to select, so you type trim, and trim you will select and read and click on insert. It will insert.
Okay.
You will be seeing the trim message here. Let me know if you have done so far.
No, got stuck at the mapping itself. Let me do.
Okay. Yeah, I can guide you. ID to ID.
Okay.
Code 1 and code 2 will be directly going to code. So they are appending 1 plus 1. And the
Code
airline.
1 and code 2 both on the code only?
Yes.
Okay.
And be mindful on what code is generating on the right side. It should be a plus. It will generate a plus in between. Payload. Okay. And to airport will be mapped to destination.
One moment. Yeah.
And from airport to origin.
Yes.
Takeoff date to departure date.
Okay.
Price to price.
Yeah.
Plane type to type inside the plane object.
Okay.
Seats available to empty seats.
Okay.
Total seats to total seats.
So I think I left with airline names.
Yeah.
No need, right?
No need.
Okay.
So in this way, we will filter out whatever is coming from the database. We just take the required fields as per our requirement and then map it. Okay. Now let's save this. And then once it's saved, it will auto deploy on on your local machines.
Okay. So every time we not forget to save, or it will auto save.
It will not auto save.
Okay.
The auto save is only on Anypoint 4 flow builder. There also, when you save, it will redeploy. But yeah, you have to save because it doesn't know when to save.
Okay.
So it started successfully for me. I'm going to test this. So right now my current structure is this. I'm copying this entire structure in a separate place so that I can refer it. And now I'm sending a new request. So the new request is like this. So if you see, there is a difference, right? This is my, on the right side, I have my old response, which is coming from database. Now I have my new response. This is the requested response from the customer. Is it different? Yes, right?
Yeah. Yes.
This is how you do mapping
Okay.
using transform message. And also if you want to see this response, right, whatever you got in the advanced REST client, this response, you can go back to your data view. Here I will show you. If you click on this preview button, and click on the create require preview, you can see the response dynamically here straight away. See?
Oh.
Or ignore that. Let's take another example. Like if you have a string anywhere here, like the code one. So here we have two codes, Amit and Valit. So if you want to separate them using a delimiter, like a dash, right? Then you can put dash and then plus plus. So this will be separated by dash, like that. If you want some space, you can put, so you can make modifications like this. Make sense? Yeah, this is how you transform. And then and to retrieve a call for a particular flight again, /5. Now it says 404 not found because we have not implemented. And then creating RESTful interfaces. So here we have already discussed, right? In the REST interface, how many methods are there? These are all the different methods: get, post, delete, put, and all. And so far we have deal with the get and post. We have implemented all this in the RAML. If you see here, get, post, get, delete, put. Let's check if it is the same case in our design center. So here it says, but we have the get, post, get, delete, but we don't have post here. But they wanted put here. So in the REST interface of the application, your listener for each resource method pairing different APIs. So we'll put that. You can create the interface manually or have it generated from the API definition. So far we have created a listener, and then we have put the flights here. But you might think, yesterday we have designed and today we are building, but where is the relationship between the design and build, right? We don't have any relation. These are two independent components. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, we designed in the studio, designed in the Anypoint platform design center. We are building it on the Anypoint Studio. There is no relation between these two, but they are similar because we try to develop something similar. Now let's put a relationship between these two. How to relate them? Instead of writing all this code, instead of spending time and figuring out what is the path name and all, the structure, instead we spend some time on building the structure. So instead of that, we can also do it in few more steps, less steps than what we have done, because we have already created the definition of the API in the RAML in design center. So route based on path, and use URI parameters in the path for new HTTP listener, route based on HTTP method. So right now, if you see, there is only one call, one flow. But I will show you some of my applications, a real-time application here, Anypoint QDepth API, which I have developed, right? So in this API, if I go in, this is a real-time project. So you can pay some attention here, how it looks. So I have a project here. It's called Anypoint MQ transfer. So in the transfer, if you see, this is how the complex the flows will be eventually. As you keep building the big APIs, this is how the APIs will be. So here you see there are a number of flows. Are you all seeing this?
Yeah.
This is how the
Yeah.
real-time APIs will be. See, but they are still clear, right? You can understand what is going on. What is going on here. So here you see, as I told, this is a listener. So this is where the API starts from. but rest of them, do they have listeners? These are they don't have listeners, right? Listener will always be separated by this dotted line in the ear, and it says the source is this. So this is how the API will request will start comes in. And so there are multiple flows, these many flows. But how do you know that where to route to which flow, right? There are multiple flows. How to call which flow? And a flow will only start when there is a listener to it, when there is a trigger to it. Something has to invoke that flow. Automatically it doesn't happen, right? Without any listener. So we'll see on how exactly we will call the different flows. Okay. And here is the walkthrough. This will be quick. Return to Anypoint Studio, double click on the HTTP listener in the flow. In the left side navigation of the listener properties, view, select advanced. So go to our API. In the listener properties, go to advanced, and in the allowed methods, select get. So right now I can call any method to my API. I can call get, I can call patch. It will go and get a response. But what if it's not a good practice? Basically, this has to be restricted to this method. It shouldn't be open for other methods because there is a security constraint there. It's not good practice, and there is a exposure of data, chances of exposure of data. So we want to restrict this message, this API call only to get method, not to any other methods. So in this case, you will come to advanced and select allow methods. Allowed methods are only get. If I want only get, it's only get. If I want only get, post, and all of those, only those methods can be put. In this way, you can restrict whatever the incoming request method is. This is an interview question. They'll ask you, how do you restrict methods? Or if I don't want my method to be, my API to be performing delete and patch, all this, how do you do that? So you have to answer in the listener configuration. In the advanced, you can select the allowed methods as only the allowed methods, and you can restrict the other methods. Any questions here?
No, Joe.
Okay. Now we'll come back here, and then on the flow, if you select the flow and right click, you have this, you can basically copy Control C and then paste Control V. In this way, you can duplicate the flow. All of you, please duplicate the flow. In the first flow, after you duplicate, go to the first flow. In the properties, change the name from this name to only get flights name. And in the duplicate second flow, go to the flow name and type get flights by ID. And remember, these flows cannot have the same name. All the names of the flows should be unique, because it doesn't know again where to call, right? If they are same, it will call both the flows if we call. So now get flights by ID, go to the listener configuration, and then in the flights, put a ID here, /ID in the curly braces, because it's a what is this kind of mentioning here? Can anybody say what is this here? What is this ID here? We discussed already so many times.
So, resource.
Resource is flights. This is a query parameter.
Okay.
Query parameter, sorry, URI parameter, not query parameter. URI parameter.
URL.
Yeah.
URL parameter.
Yes, URI parameter, not L. If there is a question mark, then that's a query parameter. Okay, and put this and save that. Now, so our aim is to right now we are getting some get flights and we are displaying all the flight information, right? Now we have created one more flow, and where we are selecting getting by ID. So we can't do the same select operation, right? We can't just give the same details. Here the request has come for only one specific flight details. So I have to select this, select star from American. Can anyone say the select query here if I want only specific ID? If you're good at, if you have knowledge in SQL, then you can say, here I have select star from American. This will give all the details from the database. If I want only one single record based on ID, what is the select statement?
Slash.
Why do you use slash in database query? There is no slash in database query. I'm sure you might have studied queries, SQLs in BTech, bachelors and masters also.
Table.
Yeah, table name is American.
When we have to pass the condition ID.
Yeah, where ID, right?
Yeah.
So where ID equal to 1.
Yeah.
So only that ID will be selected. But there is a problem with this. What is the problem? Only one, in the number of records we are getting from the database, like all these records, only the one which has ID number 1 only will be displayed all the time. But it's not dynamic at all, right?
Yeah.
But we want something which is coming in the input. So input, this guy, whoever is calling this service, is providing ID in a dynamic format, and in the select query we have to get based on that ID, not number 1. But for now, let's check if this query is working or not, and also this duplicate flow is working or not, right? So for that details, for that reason, we will save this for now. Let this deploy, right? And then let's test this, and then slowly we will always take one step at a time. Okay, don't test everything all at once. So now I go back here, and to test this, can anybody say the URL, the URL for this? See, I got the details for 1, right? Whatever we are queried. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the details. Now we want, what we want to do, we want to dynamically get the values, not always 1. So even if I send 20, 30, 40, 50, it will always give me the value for the 1. Why? Because the query is not dynamic, it's static query, only 1 is pulling all the time. So we want to catch this, query this URI parameter, and then pass it to the database. Here I have to pass 30, so that I'll get the value for 30. How do you do that? This is all dynamic, right? Are you getting that point or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kanil, Sahiti, are you guys following?
Yeah, we are following.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are catching the dynamic value from the request and then sending it to the database, and also getting the dynamic values from the database to the sending it back to the requester, or the one who sent us the request. So for that I am doing, so I go to here and then put this colon ID uppercase. So when I have colon ID here uppercase, this says that, hey, this is a dynamic query, and take the input parameters from bottom. So here you see the input parameters, right? So here you have to mention ID, the ID whichever is mentioned here, copy paste. ID is payload dot, here we are getting in a attribute. So I'll show you attribute dot URI. Okay, let's let's go one step back. I wanna guide you through this. Okay, so I haven't made any changes. I'll debug this application. So I'll stop this. Varun, you can also stop this application and select debug here on the top. Instead of run, you can select debug project. And it will ask if you want to save, then click on save. And then it will also ask you to change the perspective of Windows. Click on no for now. Or you can, because it will change the perspective of the layout. And right click on this add breakpoint at the database. Add breakpoint.
I am still at the duplicating things. Can I still do the debug part?
Have you duplicated?
Yeah, I just duplicated and gave the names get flights and get flights by ID.
And also change the listener configuration. Here you have to put /ID.
Okay, let me do that.
And then debug.
Okay.
So look at my screen now. This pay little attention now. So right now I'm debugging my application. That means I'm trying to see how it is functioning. This is very crucial. In the development, you will be doing debug most of the times because you want to see each and every step in real time in functionality wise. So I'm sending a request now here, and then I got a request and it stopped here. See the dotted lines? So it stopped here. So when it stopped here, you can open this debug window here, Mule debugger. And then if you see here inside the payload, I'm not sending any payload here. It's just one URI parameter. Any body? No, it's a get method. So in the payload, you don't see anything. But again, let me highlight this. So here Mule message, in the Mule message structure, right now I'm trying to access the URI parameter. That should be inside the attributes, right? Attributes is inside the message and it's under the payload. So I go back here in the attributes, I open. Here I see there are a lot of parameters. So here is a query parameter which is 0. We don't have any query parameters. But we have this request URI parameter. You see flight /30, and down here you have the URI parameter, and it's the ID is 30. So we want to get this value to pass into the database. So how do I do that? Here if you see x plus y equal to question mark.
Yeah.
So this is called the equation, evaluate the database expression. Here you can dynamically write the equations and test what is the output. So here I put where is this URI parameter inside the attributes. So I put attributes and then evaluate. So I get all the attributes. Now I type attributes dot URI parameters, params, and then evaluate. It says I got 1. In the 1 again there is, so URI params of 0. Evaluate. Now I got 30. So this 30 has to be sent inside this data view, right? Does it make sense or no? How I am getting the value? Hello.
Yeah, it's little confusing.
See,
Uh,
says to make it easy, All I'm trying to do is grab this. Where is this guy? Grab this URI parameter. If it is a query parameter, whatever it is, in the Mule debugger, this is the request properties. All we are seeing here, variables and watches. If you see, so in the attributes, you see the URI parameter. In the URI parameter, I'm seeing this value 30. Now I'm writing a Mule expression to take that ID and use it in this Mule application. How do I extract that? So this is basically inside the attributes. Therefore, I put attributes dot, and inside the attributes there is URI parameters. URI parameters in the 0th element. There can be number of URI parameters, right? In the URI parameter, again I'm taking the 0th one, the first one, bracket of 0, and then evaluate. When I'm evaluating, this is loading up this incoming request dynamically and showing, hey, this is 30, I think. So I'm grabbing this value.
Okay.
Okay. Saiti, Kanil, any questions here?
No, I'm getting it.
Okay. So you grab that expression, go back and to your what database configuration, and then in the input parameter, I'm trying to put this, and this is to be assigned to ID. This ID in the brackets, I'll put, hey, whenever this ID is coming, just assign this value to that. Now stop this. Let's verify. ID attributes dot URI parameters. And this looks, it's little I mean, this doesn't look good. Like I don't feel confident. So I don't know if this will work. So if something is off to you, make sure it looks good. So in the input parameter, there is this f of x function, right? It means it will switch to expression mode. Right now, this is an expression, and we are switching it to expression. Now you see there is some color and the space is good, and this mostly looks confident to me and it looks good. So whenever the ID is called from here, it will come here and assign this URI parameter to this. This is how you dynamically update the values in the database. Make sense? Yes, no?
Yeah.
You got it, right? If there are, suppose I have to filter by destination also. So how do I write destination? Can anyone say? I mean, if I'm getting destination in the URI parameter.
Same destination, attribute, URI params, and 0.
So again, you have to come here, put comma, and then quotes. Okay, tell me what will be in the quotes here. The name, exact name.
Destination DST.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, you got that sense, right? So that's how you write. And then, so let's test this. Whatever we have written so far, let's test this. So I'm saving this and then I'm running this, not debugging. If you want debug, you can do debug too. You can basically run this. See, do you guys see this? I click on, I hit 3, I got a response for 3. And if I change it to 1 and hit, I get the details for 1 from the database. Any questions so far? This is very crucial and important part. Any questions so far? Or everything is a question?
So there are total 30 records in the database?
We don't know. We never know actually. Right? Unless we send a query. This is a URI parameter. So we are selecting specific ID related. But if we send a just get method, like if I remove this, right, and just flights, now I'll see Now I'll get what? All the flights. So now you can see how many flights are there. 11 flights.
Okay.
Make sense?
Mm.
Now so far what all methods have we implemented in our code here? Can anybody say what all methods we implemented?
Only get.
Perfect. Only get method. Now let's go and implement the post method, and then we can close the session. We'll catch up tomorrow again. So let's do that quickly. In the post, where is the post? Yeah, post request. So in the Mule palette, select in the new flow, make a new flow. Okay. In the new flow, so how to make a new flow?
Just select any random thing, what we needed, and then
What we need?
drag it.
What we need? Tell me what we need. Here, I want a new post method.
First, we need source.
First, we need what?
Source.
Source. What will be in the source?
Listener.
Listener. So type listener, and then select HTTP listener and drop it. And you can say this is for post method. Post
And we
flight.
yeah.
Okay. And in the here, if you want to restrict, you can go to advanced and type allowed methods are only post. And in the URI, in the base path, what will be the in the path here? Flights. And now we want to change post flight. Okay, post flight we did correctly. Flights, not flights, flight. And then we have mentioned, okay, we have done exactly the same steps they told us, just with our intuition, and then with our idea, right? We followed the exact steps. And then set payload.
Yeah.
So in the set payload, we want to implement this message. So I come and then select set payload. In the set payload, I drop it here. Do these steps, all of you, together with me, and then paste message flights added, but not really. And then save it, and then test it. Can anyone guide me how to do the post method here?
Can you repeat your question, Joe? Like I didn't get you.
I want to send a post request to test my application.
On the left side dialog box, you need to put post.
Okay, post, and then
Like we need to add.
Okay, from body, we need,
body. Okay.
or from the bottom near the response, you need to select raw data. Yeah, input. Yeah.
Select the mine type JSON.
Yeah.
And then paste the JSON.
Yes.
Very good. Yeah, this is how. And here you see there is error, and you have to be mindful. It says error, so a bracket is missing. So I click enter and insert a bracket. Now it feels good. Now I send it. It says 200 responds correctly, but got some message. It says message flight added, but not really, right? But this doesn't look good. So something is wrong. Means we are sending a message, but it doesn't know what type it is. So in the mem type, I'll select it as application slash JSON,
Yeah.
and then save it again. This will quickly deploy. Send. Still the same. Okay. I just unchecked the f of x value there.
Okay.
See, you got the response message. Flights added, but not really. Done. So here, so far we have seen different flows, and what is a good way to create this RESTful interface automatically using API. So far, we have created multiple flows and written multiple things, right? But APIkit, there is one thing called APIkit. It is an open source toolkit that includes the Anypoint Studio plugin. The Anypoint Studio APIkit plugin can generate an interface automatically from a RAML API definition for new or existing projects. It generates a main routing flow and flows for each of the API resource or method pairs. You add processors to the resource flow to hook up to your backend logic. So it's saying there is one technology, one tool called APIkit plugin. So this APIkit plugin will generate these flows which we have just written, right? These flows will be automatically generated based on the RAML which we have written in the yesterday's part 3 class. Yesterday class we have written RAML. In the RAML we have defined same structure whatever we implemented. See, flights ID, get, post, get, delete. So far we covered this get, post and get in here also, right? This is get, post for flights. Make sense?
Yeah.
This is the RAML destination. So I'll post that class video and then you can go through how to write this RAML. So we'll implement that using this technology called APIkit. So we'll walk through this APIkit session tomorrow and we'll make sure we'll complete this entire getting started with Anypoint platform in tomorrow's session. Okay. Any questions so far?
Okay.